There are villains who challenge heroes, and then there are villains who redefine the story itself. And Bondrewd from Made in Abyss, well, he's someone who does both. The moment he appears, the series goes from a mysterious adventure to something far darker than you could ever imagine. This is the story of Bondrewd, the villain who single-handedly transformed a series. When I first heard of Made in Abyss, it had a ton of hype surrounding it, and to be honest, for most of the first season, it felt too light for its reputation. But near the end of that season, something changed. Now, to understand Bondrewd's impact, you do need to understand some of the story itself. A girl named Riko wants to find her mother with her new robotic friend Reg in a place called the Abyss. A massive pit full of relics, creatures, and potentially ditty parties. The deeper you descend, the more dangerous and mysterious it becomes. Riko and Reg aren't the only ones exploring the Abyss. Cave raiders have explored the Abyss for generations, the most legendary of which are referred to white whistles, for the whistles they wear around their neck. Among them, one stands out even amongst his peers, Bondrewd. And before he arrived, the series hadn't really leaned into the danger of the Abyss. But then we meet Nanachi, and she tells us the story of when she and her friend Mitty crossed paths with Bondrewd. He had escorted them, two orphans who dreamt of becoming explorers, into the Abyss alongside many other children. But while they thought they were there to explore, he had more nefarious plans. Together, they all ventured down to the 5th layer and set up a base of operations. It's where Mitty and Nanachi ended up becoming friends. They spent their time dreaming of what they'd accomplish together. Meanwhile, child after child was chosen by Bondrewd, and once that happened, they never returned. This was portrayed as a good thing. Being chosen was admirable. They were brave and honorable, helping humanity even, despite not really knowing what that meant. One by one, the group of children vanished until only Mitty and Nanachi remained. One night, it was Mitty's turn. Nanachi asked to go with her, but was told, "It's not your time yet." Despite this, she couldn't stand not seeing Mitty again and went after her. When she finds her friend, it's not at all what she expected. She's trapped inside a glass container. This isn't honor, it's experimentation. Nanachi rushes to free her friend, but Bondrewd catches her. She becomes part of the experiment too. This is when we learn the truth of what Bondrewd does. The Abyss has a curse. The deeper you go, the harsher your mind and body are affected. On the 6th layer, it's essentially impossible to bear. Anyone who tries to return from it either dies or loses their human form. Bondrewd's goal is to figure out a way to survive this curse, descend to the 6th layer, and return alive. So he's been sending children down as experiments, testing different ways to get around the curse. He calls the layer below his garden, a pretty dark metaphor, and something I'd expect from, say, Epstein. Then he drops both Mitty and Nanachi down to the 6th layer. To Bondrewd, friendship was a variable he had yet to test, but one that may make a difference. Once they reach the bottom, we see the results of his prior work. He raises them back up, and I'm just gonna shut up and let you watch. Gruesome, right? Well, it gets worse. Turns out, Bondrewd was right. Their friendship did matter. The love they shared protected Nanachi and transformed her into something they'd never seen before, a hollow, someone who survived the curse and retains their mind, even if their body is no longer human. But Mitty is this monstrosity, and worse yet, she's immortal, so you can't put her out of her misery. Bondrewd, taking notes from our government and MKUltra, experiments on her relentlessly, and her body keeps regenerating no matter what disgusting acts he performs on her. It becomes too much for Nanachi. Every moment they spend together is a reminder of what she lost. Mitty's love saved her and cursed her, so she took her friend and fled. The hatred you feel for Bondrewd for this became arguably the main hook for the series. It certainly was for me, but think about it. We hadn't actually even seen him yet. Mitty's story was a flashback that came in the season finale, and only once the post-credits hit did we see a few seconds of him in the present. And even then, you knew immediately upon seeing him, the series was different now. But Mitty's story wasn't our first warning about him. Ozan, the strongest of the White Whistles, warns Rico and Reg, you shouldn't stay on the 5th layer for long. Ozan wasn't exactly Mr. Rogers herself, and yet she's giving them advice to stay away, adding, he's not as kind as I am, set the stage perfectly, because when the movie arrived, Bondrewd takes center stage, and the show hits an entirely new level. Yet, when you actually see him, he's not really what you expected him to be. He's polite. He never raises his voice or loses his cool. But that just makes him even more unsettling because you know something dark is about to happen. And it does. We already knew Mitty wasn't the first of her kind, but she wasn't the last either. Nanachi returns to his research base with Rico and Reg, and they learn Bondrewd has an adopted daughter, Prushka. This is where things with his character get really interesting, because his daughter has nothing but nice things to say about her father. His kindness to her saved her, and he gave her a will to live. This sounds crazy, right? She must be insane to think this, but she's not. She's a kind person herself, so how can this be? Has he changed since Nanachi left? Well, no, he's just more complex than we thought. When Nanachi left, he never came for her. He could have tried to retrieve her and Mitty, considering they were arguably his 2 most successful experiments, but he didn't. Upon her return, he holds no grudge towards her. In fact, he's excited she's back. Her hatred of him, he doesn't mind it at all. But that could be nefarious too. Maybe she matters so little in the grand scheme of things that it wasn't even worth it to stop her. Unfortunately, the worst is yet to come. The key to making a white whistle is a human life and love. The whistles are literally made with human remains. There's a more complicated process involved, but that's the gist. How does he know this? Well, he used his own body and soul to create his white whistle for himself. How terrifying is that? Bondrewd doesn't just believe love is necessary for his experiments, he proves it. Affection is an ingredient, a variable. But where did this stem from? Did he choose to sacrifice part of himself because he was unwilling to sacrifice others? Or was there no one close enough to him for him to sacrifice? Is this a reason why he overcompensates with children after the fact? Maybe it was simply curiosity, who knows? What we do know is this dude is no longer human. All that matters now is progress. Think of how he viewed the Mitty situation. He tells them his success will be because of them, as if they should be proud of this, that upon seeing their new forms, this is a splendid discovery. Deaths could be preventable down the line, so current sacrifices are necessary. Like Prushka, he decides to turn her into a white whistle too, and the scary part is, the process only works if there's love between the two involved. That's why the Abyss is so fascinating. It reflects who you are and rewards you for it one way or another. It's horrifying proof that affection can be used as a tool to further his means. In a way, she's his masterpiece. It's the darkest take on the power of love that I've seen. He knows that the key to making progress in the Abyss is harnessing that power. Yes, he loves these children, but he loves them because it makes them better pieces to experiment with. I don't know if it's twisted logic or compartmentalizing that his love and their sacrifice are not intertwined, but it's hard to reconcile that the people he cares about most are the one he sentences to fates worse than death. And the love does mean something. One thing that stands out is he remembers the name of every person he experimented on. Sure, you can say he loves them because he knows he needs to, but does that make it fake or lesser? It's an interesting thought. Is it love if you force yourself to love someone? According to the show's blessing system, the answer is yes. If he didn't love Prushka, the blessing literally couldn't have worked. She couldn't have become a white whistle. Because even if it's complex for him, to those on the receiving end, the children, it is undoubtedly real, both in what they give and receive. So he has taken advantage of the power of love. He, in many ways, is like the series. He loves his children and is also willing to sacrifice them in the name of progress. The Abyss shares in that duality. It's both light and dark, exciting and terrifying. There's a specific moment that symbolizes this well. His henchman sets fire to a field of flowers to kill deadly insects, and that's kind of the nature of who he is. doing what's necessary at the cost of what's beautiful. A moment I found interesting is when Nanachi says he can't hurt her friends, he apologizes. Reg is already being experimented on because Bondrewd had ordered it to happen. But what if she had said that a little bit sooner? Would he have listened, or was it a completely meaningless apology? With him, it's hard to tell. Another is how he responds to Nanachi killing Mitty. Her one dream is for Reg to put an end to Mitty's suffering. When he does, her light goes out at Bondrewd's facility, but he's not angry about it. He congratulates Nanachi on her success. She made progress on her goal at the expense of his, and yet he still appreciates it. On top of the complexity of his mind, a special part of his character is how unstoppable he feels. Riko, Reg, and Nanachi spend a lot of time coming up with the perfect plan to take him out, and it works. The problem is, his body is simply a vessel. One of his henchmen walks up, grabs his helmet and whistle, and then Bondrewd inhabits their body instead. He's turned himself into a collective. His mind and soul can swap bodies on a whim, and it's not like destroying his helmet or whistle kills him either. There's a relic that allows him to choose a new host if he dies. He's basically reached godhood through repetition. It's a great example of something I love. Smart people doing smart things, but it's not enough. Later on, they do best him in combat, but he doesn't really lose. He's still there, and his existence presents a dilemma. Do you do everything in your power to end him for good? If you do, you probably won't be able to continue your own journey because of what it'll take to do it. So they leave him be and continue forward. He's not going to stop what he's doing, but that's a sacrifice they're willing to make to achieve their goals, and he holds no ill will towards them after this. In fact, he's ecstatic. He was bested by someone, which makes them better than him. They'll be able to accomplish great things in the Abyss because of that. There's no redemption here either. He feels no guilt or remorse for any of his actions. He's not going to stop ruining children's lives, but he's not going to go after the main characters either. It makes him feel different. It's kind of crazy when you think about it because he isn't around that long. He pops up in a flashback in the season 1 finale, he gets a movie, and that's it. Yet he's the most memorable part of the series and changed the entire direction of it. I had heard the name Bondrewd long before I knew who he was. I'd seen his design before. That's not an accident. Plus, let's be honest, how badass of a nickname is the Sovereign of Dawn? Fitting too. The Dawn represents new beginnings, and that's exactly what he's trying to accomplish. I want to highlight something else that stood out to me. They don't interact much, but he's actually an interesting contrast to Riko. They are both driven by love. However, because of her curiosity and love for her mother, Riko reaches out to understand and connect, while Bondrewd's love funnels inward. It's about results and achieving his ambitions. Both of them push forward through barrier after barrier for a dream they've each set their heart on achieving. The difference is, Riko refuses to compromise her morals to do so. Meanwhile, Bondrewd sacrifices everything along the way to his goal, including himself. He's a transformative villain. He changed the tone, the stakes, and depth of Made in Abyss the moment he arrived. Now subscribe or be his experiment.